We are at the forefront of many innovative and exciting things developing in the world of senior living. With Tim Mallett, CEO of Forefront Living, as our guide, this show will shine a light on how older adults can embrace these changes to live active, happy, fulfilling, and thriving lives. Through discussions with senior living and hospice professionals, architects and designers, and people of all ages, will help today's seniors envision the art of the possible and take steps toward achieving the future of their dreams. Welcome to At the Forefront.
Hello, I'm Tim Mallett, CEO of Forefront Living, and welcome back to At the Forefront. Today we're continuing our discussion on students and working in senior living. I'm happy to welcome back Nancy Greer, Presbyterian Village North resident since June 24th, 2021, and I will tell you in another episode how I know that date. And I'm also happy to welcome Dustin Allen, who has been Executive Director at Presbyterian Village North since 2022. So as we continue our discussion, Dustin, I'm going to ask my first question of you. And when you came to Presbyterian Village North, we were still in the middle of the pandemic. We were really dealing with a lot of issues surrounding staffing, and you walked into a situation where we had introduced servers in the dining room. And I'm curious what, a two-part question, what your thoughts were as you first saw that staffing structure, and then your reasons for continuing it.
Well, when I first started as executive director, our biggest challenge when I started was in the culinary department, we had a lot of contract labor. And so there was a lot of inconsistencies with the staffing, who was coming, who was going. The services were affected due to that. And so after probably a month into my tenure as an executive director, we kind of started brainstorming and decided, okay, how are we going to combat this problem, both from a short-term standpoint and a long-term standpoint? So we started introducing a high school program to where we really ramped up our recruiting efforts, developed those relationships with some of the community leaders in the area at those high schools. And then from that point on, it was like, okay, we need to figure out a way to manage this program. And so creating a program that not only we ramped up our recruiting efforts, now we need to create a program that once we do begin getting these high school students on campus, providing a very supportive environment so that they have the tools and resources to succeed when they're there. I don't know that a lot of people understand the complexities of having a high school program. There's a lot of advantages to it. You develop a lot of relationships with a lot of the high schools. There's a lot of give back to the community from an outreach standpoint. You're providing an opportunity for students to come in a supportive environment, which I heard earlier in the segment, which is absolutely true, as opposed to working in a restaurant trying to serve, basic clients. You're in a supportive environment where you're working with a population that is excited to see you on a continuous basis.
So Dustin, I'll have to ask you this. When we were talking about the concept, and I was talking to my peers and other folks, there were a lot of objections to bringing students into the environment. One of the biggest objections was the schedules that they maintain. They're not available all day. Tests come up, prom comes up, dances, football games, football season especially, can be a staffing challenge. Talk to us about how you manage through that, and then is the effort worth the results?
Well, I think the first step is designing the program, having consistent meetings with both the culinary department and the HR department, and coming up with a comprehensive plan to understand that you're going to have those challenges when you have this program, and you're going to have students that come in and that, like you just said, are going to have different events going on. They stay very active, which you encourage. And so managing that staffing to where they can pick up shifts here and there, understanding exactly when they can work, when they can't, that takes a lot of time and effort. And you have to designate someone to manage that on a consistent basis. The idea is you continue to recruit your high school students, because some of them need credits for their programs. Some of them need just additional spending money. And so you want to provide them an opportunity to work as many shifts as they can. And you know that, you have to plan for the seasons. In the holiday season, they're going to be busy with family, school activities, those type of things. You have to prepare for the spring season, the summer season, those type of things. So when we started and I came on board September of 2022, it was just really peeling back the layers and understanding, okay, we got to go step-by-step process, and then eventually building a large group of students in our platform to where they can pick up spot shifts here and there. And then the next step was, developing a program to where they did have the tools to succeed. You can have a great program to where your recruiting efforts are very strong, you're getting students to come in, but if you don't provide them the resources to succeed right from the get-go, they're not going to stay very long. And so that was important to implement as well.
Nancy, can you talk to us about the atmosphere in the dining room and how that's changed since the introduction of students?
Well, I think everyone is very happy. All of the residents are happy to see students in there, and it just provides a fresh face and fresh opportunities to talk about something with someone new that we don't always have. So it's been great.
Well, I have an operational question, and I'm going to direct it to you, Nancy, because you mentioned this to me offline. But we have individuals who have worked in our culinary department for 40 years. We have full-time servers. We have other professionals in dining. What have you observed about the interaction from our full-time teammates towards our students?
I think they're very caring about the kids who are there. No, I'm sorry, I just call them kids. That's what they are. But when they need to give some instruction, they do it very gently. And you can see the interaction as you sit at a table waiting for your dinner, that, they direct them in a way that needs, or redirect them in a way that needs to be. I like to see the teamwork, and I like to see the camaraderie, and it gives us all a different flavor.
Dustin, talk to us a little bit more about that. Talk to us about your observations and the feedback you've received from other teammates and residents.
Well, I'll start with the residents. I can't tell you how many times the residents will pull me aside, and we won't even be talking about the topic of culinary. and we'll get into services, resident satisfaction, that type of thing, and they will openly contribute on a consistent basis how excited they are to have those smiling faces of our students in the dining room. They love the opportunity to be able to learn about these students and give them potential guidance. And that's where the supportive environment comes in. From our full-time employees, they embrace it as well. Let's face it, if you have students that are coming in, even if it's spot shifts, it's much better situation than when you're using contract labor and you have a brand new face coming in and trying to learn on the go. Chances are services are going to be interrupted just based on their learning curve. And now you're giving students a platform to continue to learn over time, even if it's a slow process. I think both sides of it really embrace it well.
I think it energizes the servers who've been there for a long time. I think having the student servers come along energizes them too.
I heard an interesting comment a couple of weeks ago from a resident, and I was table touchy. We were talking about some of the students that were in. I said, "How's your experience going?" And of course, I said, "Phenomenal." But then they openly communicated that they don't get to see their grandchildren very often, and they live in it. They're not local. They're busy with school, that type of thing, and so they just love that socialization with the younger generation. And so I didn't even really think of it from that angle, but I could see how that contributes to their lives on a daily basis.
Well, and that was a question.
I would agree.
Well, you took my question, Dustin. That was actually, this is what happens when you give them the questions beforehand. But really, what is, there's an investment. You see an investment in each other. Are there examples you can share of the impact you've seen with other residents and the relationship?
Well, I think anytime they get to have some interaction with the student servers, that it impacts the way they feel that day. You know, if you come in not feeling so good or whatever, just to have somebody wait on you who is kind and understands that this might not be a good day, but what can I do to make it better, means a lot.
Very good. You know, Dustin, this is something, as we learned in the first segment, that really started at the kitchen table. It started out of need. Two of your teammates, Denise and I, had teenage children. We were able to leverage our relationships and even familiar relationships, because Mackenzie's sister also worked at one point in time in the dining room. But you're taking it beyond those relationships now. What are your plans for attracting new teammates, new student teammates?
Our plans are continuing to develop the relationships with administration of the local high schools, Dallas Lutheran being another one. And so as we enter into a different quarter, the idea is to work with the area ed department and have some recruiting efforts, events, those type of things, have that consistent dialogue with that leadership to understand exactly what the students are in need, what demand there is. And it's almost surprising to see what the demand is there. It's just getting that word out that we're here and we can provide that opportunity and platform to you. And then to advance to that, what we tell the administration teams of those high schools is that you'd be surprised how many students come in who had no ambition to work in senior living. They get in that environment, and then we already have a couple of students right now that have changed their career paths when they go to college as to the degree program and getting into senior living.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we have one student who I believe is going to Baylor, and they've adjusted their career path over the summer and decided, okay, I want to get more into the geriatric world. And that's just being around that on a consistent basis and understanding that it's a very rewarding career. You just have to experience it. I know for me, for example, I didn't really get into senior living until 2006. With a bachelor's degree in kinesiology, I was more